Hi guys, Django here. Welcome back to my Craftoria world, where we're doing all kinds of quick starts and tutorials on all the different mods in the context of a mod pack. In this episode, we are going to build this gigantic Ars Nouveau source battery. We'll talk about source, moving it around with relays, and generating it. I always seem to run out of source in my worlds. Not this one. Stick around and we'll build this thing from scratch. Please give me a few seconds to thank our sponsor, Apex Hosting. If you're thinking about starting your own Minecraft server, Apex Hosting is a great way to go. With their always-on servers, you can invite your friends to join at any time with no port forwarding setups, and setting up mod packs like this one is a breeze with their one-click installations. Plus, they offer 24/7 support to help with any issues, and they'll handle mod pack upgrades for you. If you do check them out, please use my link, django.com/apex, which helps support the channel. Thank you for your support. All right, let's get back to it. All right, so here we are back in time. We're going to fill this room with that massive source battery that we saw in the intro. Place for a cactus farm over there. But let's first talk about source, how to make it and why we need it. We need source for just about every kind of operation that happens in Ars Nouveau, like these imbuement chambers doing crafting. Here we have some snad growing here. Snad is useful for growing plants like cactus, and that's going to be a good source for us. If we put I swapped sand in for that, and now it's crafting, but it's happening really slow without source. We had a jar of source right here. That source speeds up this process a ton. This is why we need source. We're going to have jars near all of our crafting machines that need it, and we need to move source into that because otherwise we're just picking up and putting down source jars all over the place, and that doesn't work. So let's talk about moving source around first of all. Let's pretend right here, this is our source production facility. Could be up there. Our sugarcane farm is one way that we've been producing source. But say we've got this jar right here fills up automatically with source through some source link we have. But we want to get it over here. How do we do that? Rather than breaking it and picking it up, we use relays for this. And there's lots of different kinds of relays. The basic one is just a plain source relay. And it will pull source from a location, a jar or another source of source like source link, and put it into another one up to 16 blocks away. Now to configure this, we need a Dominion wand. And this is a good chance to talk about this enchanting apparatus, which we haven't talked about before, but it's really easy to build. Beneath it is an arcane core and an enchanting apparatus on top. And we surround it with 8 pedestals, which are kind of this crafting grid. All enchanting apparatus patterns, recipes use these pedestals to put things on. And if we look at the Dominion wand as an example, here's, enchanting apparatus, crafting. The thing in the middle goes into the apparatus and the things on the outside go on the pedestals, and this is what it's making. So if we take 2 source gems and it's shapeless, we can put them anywhere we want, and a gold, and put a stick inside here. That's going to craft our Dominion wand. Really cool animations in this mod, by the way. And there we go. Now we have a Dominion wand. We use the Dominion wand to configure source relays and other things, like we can configure our starbuckles with this as well. And we configure this by right-clicking on the thing we want to go from, and then right-clicking on the thing we want it to go to. So for example, we right-click on this source jar, it says position set, and then we right-click on the relay. Now it says it's taking from one location, and it pulls a little bit of source out of there. And now we right click on it again because we're going from here, and we put a right click on here to go to here. And now we can see it's pulling from that source jar into the other one. And relays can just pull and push into a single location. Let's look at pulling and pushing to multiple locations. And we can do that with a splitter relay. So if we put this up here, no reason other than just to have it in here in the middle. And if we want to go from here into those 2 jars, we right click on this one because it's going from it to here. So now we're taking from that jar, and we right click here and we can put it into this jar, and we right click here and it can go into this jar. And now it's splitting from that jar into these 2 jars. And this one's pulling from this jar, putting it back. And eventually that top jar on the left will just get filled up and the whole thing will stop because nothing's pulling from that top jar. So this is a relay, and this is a relay splitter. There's a few other types of relays. There is a warp relay, which is too expensive. I don't have what it takes to make a warp relay because it requires popped chorus fruit. So I haven't been to the end yet, so I can't make that. But it's basically a relay with unlimited distance. It can even cross dimensions. So we can send source anywhere, just like we can send source up to 16 blocks with just a regular relay. There's two more relays I want to talk about, which is the collector and the depositor. The depositor can take source from anywhere. It will automatically put it into any jars that are within 5-block radius of itself. And likewise, the collector will pull from any jars automatically in a 5-block radius of itself and then push it to a place where you specify. And with that, we can create our source battery. So let's put these over here. We'll see how this works. So we're going to put the depositor right here. And it will place in a 5-block radius, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we put a 6th one out here, it will not reach it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we can put it in these corners as well. It's kind of an orthogonal radius. So even though this is technically farther than 5 meters away, 5 blocks away, it still counts as 5 blocks because of the right angles. And we can go up 5 blocks as well. And we can fill in this entire grid with source jars. Source jars are really cheap. It's just glass and archwood. And so I've got several stacks of them here already. But let's watch this work first. Let's put a source link right here. Now this source link we can connect to this depositor like this. We want to come from the source link, right click with the wand and right click here. And now it's taking from the source link. And if we plant some cactus over here, every time the cactus grows, the source link will automatically generate source, put it in the depositor, and we're going to see it go into one of these jars. The SNAD is making these grow faster, which is why they're growing so fast. And we can see it's filling up this depositor and it's going to put it into this source jar. Just we can watch. There it goes. And there we go. This will fill up an entire grid of source jars like this. I don't have to click on any of these jars with the wand. It's just automatically going to put source in jars within 5 blocks. That's how we get source into the battery. How do we get it out? We do that with a collector. So the collector is going to pull source from the jars. It actually emptied this jar and it's got a pretty big buffer in it. It might have an entire jar buffer in it. I'm not sure exactly how much. But that's a lot of source. One jar is quite a bit of source. Now this will put source into a jar. And let's say we want to use this jar over here. So we right click on the collector and then we right click on this jar. And now that's going to put source into this jar. So the cactus will generate source in the agronomic source link. There are many different kinds of source links. So if you have another source like unlimited lava, that's a great source of source with the volcanic source link. And there's other ways to get source as well. But SNAD growing cactus is a fantastic way. And we're going to automate that next, actually. So here we go. We've got our battery here. It's kind of empty. We need more cells in it. This is basically, when I fill in this grid, is going to be a quarter sized of maximum battery, but plenty big for our purposes. So we can go down another 5. We can come out here another 5. And we're going to end up with basically 11 by 11 by 10. But that's going to be over 1,000 source jars if you make the maximum size one. This here is going to be about 275. So I'm going to build that grid of source jars, and then I'll be right back. Okay, that's kind of hard to see, but there we go. We've got a full grid of source jars. And again, that's about 273, I think. 5 times 5 times 11 minus 2, I think that's 273. All right, and this is still not filling up because our cactus is finished growing. Next, let's automate the cactus. All right, let's set up this cactus farm. This is a very vanilla cactus farm. And generally what people do is, put a block, you can put a block right like here, and that will break the top piece of cactus. And when it grows up, it'll break it again like that. We can improve on that because we're playing in modded. So I'm going to use the bank mod here and put a bank dock right here. And bank is just very large storage. And this is just a very lowest level bank because we're just going to be putting some cactus in here. We don't need anything upgraded from here. And we can set this up to void overflow. And when any single slot overflows, it voids it. So it's only going to store, this bank one just stores 256 items per slot. And we're only storing cactus in here. So if we just fill these up, this will fill up completely with cactus and we'll end up with way more cactus than we need. And then to collect it, because we're going to have cactus everywhere, we'll put this item collector right here. And it's already configured because I was using it elsewhere. This is good. It's configured to be surrounding anywhere cactus might fall. But we can adjust that in here. And that should take care of any cactus falling anywhere. So that covers that. I'm going to hide the render area. Now with any resource automation like this, especially ones that drop items on the ground, I'd like to be able to turn them off when we don't need it on anymore. I'm going to make it so that I can use pistons to turn this thing on and off like this. So I'm going to put a piston right here because we only really need this to be too high, too tall. Let's break these. And I'm going to put a piston in between each pair of cactus here. Now to prevent these things from growing taller, I'm going to put stained glass right here. There, now the cactus will not grow any taller than this, and this is the off state. And when we want to turn it on, we'll put a lever right here. That's not going to work. Glass doesn't send redstone, does it? We can put it right here. So when we want this thing to be on, also the state change on the piston breaks it. So let's put, okay, here we go. This should do it. So that should lower that piston, and this is the on position. You can see how fast the SNAD is making those grow. Okay, now we need some redstone on top to make all the pistons go down. And so this should turn on the entire thing. All the cactus is growing now. And finally, a function of SNAD is that it can, if you give it a redstone signal, it will tick. And so we want to put a clock signal on every single piece of SNAD. And I have these redstone clocks, which are very easy to make from the utilitarian mod. And if we put these down here, these are going to, if we right click on these with an empty hand, we can change the number of ticks that it will send a redstone signal. So I think its default is 10. If we shift right click, it goes up by 10 and it cycles around at 100. The lowest can be 5. So we're going to set these all to 5. So now these are all sending redstone signals every 5 ticks. So now when I turn this back on again, it should go really fast. Yeah, these things are going crazy at this point. Now we can see how fast this is coming. It's still not super fast. It's like, I don't know, 10% every few seconds. So this is going to now fill up our battery. But even with this very fast continual production of source, we can see that it's pretty slow to produce source. Now we can expand this cactus farm as big as we want and get even more source produced. I think this, once we fill up our battery, then we'll have a big enough buffer. We don't use source very fast generally either. So having a big buffer is a pretty good idea for when we do want to use it. Like, for example, making a SNAD uses up 10,000 source units, which is an entire source jar. So if I replace this, it uses up an entire jar, which we can't see because it's filling it up again. So if I was going to do a stack of sand into SNAD by automating this with some hoppers or whatever, and applied energistics or some sort of filtering to get stuff in and out, it's going to use 64 jars to do a stack of SNAD. So in that sense, to do that as quickly as possible, we want to have as much as we can. So we've got 273 jars right here. So we can easily handle a stack of SNAD. Most other recipes don't use that much. Most other recipes don't use that much source. SNAD is a pretty high example of that. So there you go. This thing is going to fill up. We can see we've got now 3 jars filled up, 4 maybe. So this shouldn't take too long to fill up, just a little bit of AFK time. When it's done, I'll flip that switch so the cactus just isn't constantly growing and breaking and making noise. And there you go, a massive Ars Nouveau source battery. And keep in mind, this can be 4 times bigger than this just using the same depositor and collector. Pretty inexpensive. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. I appreciate you.